In this video, I'm going to continue rebuilding this HPI Nitro Savage monster truck. I'm going to start by doing a partial teardown so that I can continue to clean this truck up before I install some new modern radio gear so I can take it out for a proper rip. Hi everyone, and welcome to Adventure RC1. My name is Greg, and this is a continuation of the video series all about rebuilding, revitalizing this vintage HPI Savage Nitro Monster truck. In the last video, I installed some outdated Traxxas radio gear. I updated the steering servo to something a bit faster and way more powerful. We even filled some fuel up in the tank and took it around for a little spin. As a result from that run, there are a couple things I'm going to need to fix on here before I take it out for another rip. On the back of the engine, the starter box shook loose. The motor's loose. It's tight to the mounting plate, but it's that mounting plate that's loose to the rest of the truck chassis. And I'm sure I'm going to run across some other stuff as I dig into this partial disassembly, but for me, this is part of the fun of working on these old vintage RC vehicles. All right, I've got some of my basic tools out, some gloves because this thing is absolutely filthy. To help with the cleaning, I've got some RC wash, and for the really stubborn parts, my ultrasonic cleaner. I'm not going to be restoring this back to like a showroom clean because, well, it's nitro powered and it's going to get dirty a few minutes after running anyways, but this thing is in dire need of a general cleaning. I'm going to start by removing the radio gear because most of it is going to get replaced anyways by the end of this video. And before I get too far, I'm going to snap a picture or two of some areas that'll make it easier for me to put this all back together again. Yeah, look at that. I've got sand in the rear differential. That can't be good. So good thing I'm doing this partial teardown. I noticed that the brakes were a little bit weak on this, and now that I'm by the brake area, I find that the two friction plates here and here are really loose. So I'm gonna tighten those up just a little bit. I think what I'm looking for is about 1 millimeter of free play between the metal pressure plates and the disc brake. Right now I've got a little bit more than that. While the main chassis drips dry outside, I'll take that opportunity to clean the skid plates for the front and the rear. After 5 minutes, I'll flip the parts over and send it down for another 5 minutes. I'll be using this method for all the parts I clean in the ultrasonic cleaner. Here's the starter gearbox that fell off during the filming of the last video. This is about all the more I'm going to tear the engine down, and that's because it's been running really well, so I don't really want to go inside and mess anything up. Instead, I'll clean the outside up with some more of this True Wash. While I give the engine a bit of a bath with a toothbrush, I'm going to take the other kibbles and bits I took off, like the header pipe, the header gasket, and the clutch bell minus the bearings. I'm going to put these in the ultrasonic cleaner. After the ultrasonic cleaner, the parts get some wash down with some water to make sure that all the cleaning solution is off, and these are just sitting here air drying away. While all of that was going on, Amazon dropped off my package today. This should have the radio gear that I'll be using, including some servos. We'll check this out in a little bit. This time, when I attach the starter gearbox up to the engine, I'm going to use some thread locker on the screws so that they don't back out again. But instead of using some Loctite, which has issues on high vibration areas like this engine and oil that just kind of leaks out of the engine, I'm going to be using some silicone sealer. I used to use this 20 years ago when I was doing RC stuff, and it's perfect in high vibration areas where there's oil, and it also works very well on those metal self-tapping screws that go into plastic. I'll give the silicone a full 24 hours to set up. And that will give me plenty of time to check out the rear end. Giggity giggity. Specifically, there's all kinds of sand that got underneath the rear skid plate, and that's just going to tear up all the gears inside. It'll also give me an opportunity to check out the inside of the differential. When I lock up one side, it doesn't feel like there's really much oil or any inside, so I want to check that out. Before I dive into the disassembly of that rear end, I'm going to take a little bit of a break and check out what radio gears and servos I'll be using for this project. Oh, the servos didn't come, but the radio did. For this project, I chose the Radiolink RC4GS version 3. I picked this model because it has an LCD screen and it has a 5-channel programmable dual mix controls, a long distance at 400 meters, and I can store up to 30 different models in this one controller. And the receivers are gyro integrated, and it also supports high voltage servos. And it's got a couple of other things. If you want to check out more about this, I'll have a link down in the description. This model also comes with 2 receivers, one of course for this project, and the other one coming up for a secret project that I'm working on in the background. That should be revealed in hopefully just a couple of weeks. Comes with a manual. The paper seems like it's a little bit cheap. It's a little bit yellowed, and the print is actually pretty small on there, so I'll have to put on my glasses when I go to read through, but it does come with a manual, which is always very nice, and some scannable QR codes for more information. And good, this is the model that is supposed to have the 2 receivers with the built-in gyros. I just can't get over how small and how powerful these receivers are. And for the controller, I'm digging this thing already because this is a full adult size radio transmitter. I love the orange accent, and the steering wheel does have a nice contoured foam wheel on it, not just plastic. And checking out the batteries, this does take 6 AA batteries, and if I want more versatility, I can remove the battery tray and install my own LiPo battery. I believe this takes a TUS all the way up to 4S LiPo battery. I just have to make sure it has that little red JST connector. Put this back in there because I am going to be using the AA battery version for this. There we go, nice and secure. I think I did pretty good. What do you think? I think this is going to work out perfectly for this project and the secret project coming up. Well, a little while later, and I've got the rear differential is all taken apart. I went ahead and I took some of the plastic components and ran them through the ultrasonic cleaner, and these things are looking pretty darn clean. And while the camera battery was recharging, I went ahead and I took the cover off of the differential, and as expected, this thing was absolutely bone dry. I did have some silicone oil in the shop of unknown weight. I threw it in there, and now I do have a little bit of resistance. Knowing that this was bone dry, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the front differential is bone dry as well. So this one, and the rear being a little bit tighter, is actually the way I'd prefer to set up a truck like this, is to have the rear differential a little bit stiffer than the front. While I was doing the teardown, I was checking out the bearings. This is the differential housing. I also checked out the bearings for the axles out in the hubs, and everything feels a little bit gritty. This model is pretty old, and if I was to do things correctly on a full rebuild, I would just simply replace all the bearings, but I'm doing this quickly and cheaply as possible, so I'm going to take some silicone grease that I have and, with a utility knife, very carefully peel off the seal and pack some grease in there for some good lubrication. The other thing it's going to do is naturally repel any dust or water that could somehow get into the bearings, giving them a little bit more life. So just carefully peel that off. And with just a little bit on my finger, I can go ahead and start packing that down inside and gently press that seal back down. And I'll do this in all the locations that I can actually get the seal off, once again extending the life of these bearings a little bit longer. The front looks good. I'm not going to mess with anything, even though I know the differential is bone dry. For now, that's going to be okay, and it's actually going to help the front of the truck turn. The engine mounting plate is reattached. I've got the throttle and brake linkages reattached. Off camera, I took this spur gear off and cleaned up the friction pad inside because I was pretty sure this was all locked up, and I do want this slipper clutch working when we take it out for a rip. From here, it's just a matter of reattaching the header pipe and installing the engine back into the chassis and bolting on the rear end and the front end. Just a little bit of a gap between the pinion gear and the spur gear, and I'll finish tightening up the motor mounting screws. The rear assembly is loosely bolted onto the chassis. If we remember earlier in the video, there was all kinds of sand and debris that got inside through the two skid plates. Now my remedy to keep all that debris out is to apply a little bit of silicone on the bottom and the top of this plate to kind of make like a gasket, if you will. If you know of a better way to keep debris from getting inside, let me know down below by leaving a comment. The rear is bolted up, and I'll do the same for the front. And the front's installed. And to cut the zip tie, just kidding, we'll cut this flush. Those of you who have an HPI Savage know that I made a mistake. I can't bolt this front skid plate on until I have the steering servo fully attached. The Savage is virtually all assembled. However, I'm still waiting for the throttle servo to arrive, but that's okay. That's going to allow that silicone adhesive to fully cure. Here's the stock throttle and brake servo. It's old and it's crusty, and I'm replacing it with this one. This has over 7 times the power over the stock servo. I'll also be installing the Radiolink gyro-equipped receiver, and this thing is super tiny. It's about the width of a standard servo, so that's actually where I'm going to mount it, was the third servo option on this Savage. I'm going to put some double-sided sticky tape and get it right in this spot. Before I do that though, I am going to drill a drain hole in the bottom there, just in case I get any rain or mud that starts piling up inside the tray. Now the real question will be, are these holes going to let water drain out, or is it going to let water drain in? If it actually lets water in, I can always go to the bottom side and put a piece of electrical tape across the bottom, making a water barrier. To hold the receiver securely in place, I'm using some 3M VHB double-sided foam tape. This stuff is crazy strong, and it also has a little bit of a thickness to it, so if I do get any debris or water in the bottom of the tray, this will also act as a nice little standoff. The receiver fits like a glove. The steering and throttle servos are connected up to the receiver along with the onboard battery pack. I've got the transmitter powered up. The menu system, by the way, is super easy to navigate on this Radiolink transmitter. So let's check it out. I've got some steering and I've got some throttle and a lot more powerful brake. The Savage is cleaned up, fixed up, and has all new radio gear installed. Next, it's time to take it out for a proper rip. It's a beautiful warm day to take this Savage out for a rip. This is the area that I'll be running. It's a nice little backwoods area that I've got access to. Let's take this out and have some fun. I had to stop for a second because the slipper clutch loosened up, so that definitely is working. That was a great first run, and the radio system ran perfectly. No glitches or twitches. And the truck is still pretty clean for the most part. This being the exhaust side, of course, is going to be the dirtiest side. The other side of the truck is really clean, nearly as clean as it was before I took it out for a rip. And best of all, the starter box on the back of the engine is still attached. It didn't shake loose this time. The engine is still tight down to the mounting plate, and that mounting plate is still tight to the rest of the truck. So far, I'm pretty happy with the way everything turned out on this rebuild, revitalization on this HPI Savage. the radio system that I got from Radiolink. This thing is definitely a keeper. Fits my hand like a glove, and the throttle, the slide action is silky smooth. Very happy with that. And I didn't see anything shake loose on that last run, which is why that silicone sealer is my go-to item for Loctiting all the screws and fasteners on a nitro vehicle. At the beginning of the run though, we did see, or actually we heard it, the slipper clutch kept on loosening up. When I dug in and took a look at that, I assembled it wrong. There's a little washer as a part of that assembly. It goes on one side of the tensioning spring. I had it on the wrong side, which allowed that slipper clutch to keep on loosening up. Once I flipped that to the correct spot, everything seemed to run really good. However, near the end of the run, it seemed like the engine was making too high of RPMs for the slow speed that it was running at. So I don't know if there's something more going on with the slipper clutch or if there's something going on with the clutch bell. Now, when I was taking everything apart, I did inspect the clutch shoes, and those are virtually brand new. So off camera, that's something I'm going to have to dig into before I take this out for another rip. My HPI Savage and the Traxxas T-Max 3.3, these things have been a blast to run. However, looking forward into the future a little bit, I do see a problem coming up very quickly, and it has to do with this, the nitro fuel that I've been using. I'm about halfway through this gallon. When I picked this up about a month ago, it was $30. This is 20% nitro from Sidewinder. Don't have any problems with the fuel itself. However, when I was back at the hobby store about a week and a half ago, they sold the other gallon that they had. Now they do have some higher content nitro, but it's like $45 a gallon, and I don't need that high of nitro content. I just need enough in there to help get these things started and stay running. So in the next video, I'm going to look at making my own fuel without any nitromethane in it. So fingers crossed to see if that goes well. It's going to put the control of the fuel back in my hands, and it's also going to greatly reduce the cost of the fuel. Now I know with running without nitro, I'm going to be losing a little bit or a lot of power out of these engines, but right now I'm not running these, and I just want to go out in the backwoods like we saw and go and have a fun time. So if you've got any tips for me mixing my own fuel, let me know by leaving a comment down below. Thanks for joining me in this video, and I hope to see you in the next video. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, or ring that notification bell. Not only does it help the Adventure RC1 channel grow, but it's also an excellent way to connect video content like this with other RC enthusiasts just like yourself. Well, until I see you again in the next video, keep on rolling.